Here's my foolproof way to communicate with your spirit guides. And I'm sharing with you the way that I communicate with them personally and professionally every single day. And it works for me every single time. Now, the key here is to not be afraid of it. There's nothing in spirit that can hurt you or will hurt you. And of course, there's nothing you need to do to come worthy or deserving. So many people come into a session with me feeling like they're not worthy enough to use your gifts. Never mind communicate with their spirit guides. And this just isn't true at all. Our spirit guides are part of us. They love us. They are linked to our highest selves, and they're here for us. They're here to help, support, and guide, and to serve us on our life purpose and missions. They help with our wants and our desires and keeping us on the path of our highest light. They help us make everyday choices, and no choice is too small or too big. And there are no limits here, so they can help you with whatever you want. Just make sure you're clear about what you want, why you really want it, and how it will feel having it. And make sure, before you decide you want to communicate with your spirit guides, that you understand that they are not separate and different from you. They're part of you. And this is why I say don't be afraid of it. Because your spirit guides are going to communicate with you in your intuitive voice first. It is going to sound like you. Until you add in actual work and practice, so that you can differentiate their voice from yours. Now, one hint and tip I'll give you is that your voice, your logical brain, is going to work in logical steps. It's going to hop from one idea to something connected to it, to another idea, and you're going to notice that they're not linked at all. Your spirit guides, on the other hand, will give you a download of information. I call it a boop. And surrounding that is going to be dead air, as if they're done talking, because they are. This is why I tell people you need to use your curiosities. You need to ask them additional questions. And if you don't understand something, send it back to them. Show them how you received it and why you don't understand it, what your meaning around it was. And be open to how they respond back. One of the main problems my clients face is getting caught in those boxes of the clairs. Because your spirit guides will not just use one modality of communicating with you. They'll use all of them. Anything you're paying attention to is what they're going to use. This is why some people are heavier on memes and some people are heavier on visuals. Whereas some people are heavier on physical sensations and others are heavier on knowing. They're going to pull from whatever you pay attention to the most. And I've actually had clients disregard spiritual knowledge because it didn't come up in the box of the clairs that they told themselves it needed to. So you'll really want to stay open in communicating with your spirit guides and accepting the first answer that comes up, regardless of how it comes up. And remembering that there's nothing to be afraid of and you are worthy. You're worthy because they are a part of you. There's no benchmark you need to reach to be able to communicate with them. And I say this because this is our sixth sense. And our sixth sense says we have access to it at all times. I approach it like this. I don't ask myself if I'm worthy enough to see a tree in the distance versus close. I don't ask myself if the smells I'm smelling are in my highest light to smell. I don't ask myself if I need to do shadow work to be able to hear the cars going by. And when I'm testing water temperature, I don't make sure I'm centered and grounded in some perfect mental state to be able to accept it. And when I taste something, I'm not worried about it tricking me. Unfortunately, this is how too many people approach their spiritual gifts and why they struggle with communicating with their spirit guides, which is actually very simple. It's supposed to be. So don't make it overly complicated for yourself. Instead, take a deep breath. Slow exhale. The breath is my main tool for getting my clients ready to communicate with spirit. Really, I'm not getting them ready, I'm just getting them out of their own head. And then we ask a simple question. No need to bite off more than we can chew, especially for those just beginning their spiritual journey and learning how to communicate with their spirit guides. I like to ask the question how they feel about me today. It's simple, and it's small, and it's an easy to understand question. I'd like you to try that. Take a deep breath with me. How do your spirit guides feel about you right now? Take a moment to feel the answer. Do they love you? Do they respect you? Are they proud of you? How do they feel about your current path and how you're walking it? Really feel the answers here. Don't fight them. And if something mean came up, you're an ego. That ego voice that keeps us insecure and doubting ourselves. It's just not helpful. If that's what came up for you, take another big deep breath to calm the ego. Remind it that you're here to talk to your spirit guides, and make sure you're talking to it like it's a small child having a very hard time, and you are the parent in charge. If that unbalanced ego continues to come up for you in fear, doubt, judgment, condemnation, and comparison, it's time to have a conversation with it at length. To do this, you'll want to approach it like it's a small child having a very hard time, with lots of compassion, and you take the adult in charge position. Hear it out, what it has to say, and ask it questions about why it feels that way. Remind it that you're here to learn, not here to be perfect. Perfection is not attainable. Remember that your goal here is just to communicate with your spirit guides, who love and adore you and support you daily. Over time, as you continue practicing, you're going to notice that your spirit guide communications become more distinct. It'll become easier to determine what is your logical brain, what is your ego, and what spirit guide communication feels and sounds like for you. For me, anytime that I'm talking to my spirit guides, I always want to look up and to the right. It doesn't matter if I'm in my office or my car, my home, or with friends. I'm always looking up and to the right, because my body understands where they're coming from and that I'm directing conversation in that location. It's not going to be like that for everyone, and it may not be like that for you. And that's okay. It's important to have patience with yourself during this process of learning, and to work with someone like me who is a dedicated teacher of helping people understand and use their gifts on a daily basis. Also, don't wait too long for their responses. Send the silence back to them and ask them to send it again in a way that you will understand. You see, it's very important for us to communicate with spirit and help them understand what we're receiving as we receive it. It is a conducive conversation with beings that are not different or separate from us, but part of us. That's another mistake I've seen my clients make. They put spirit on this pedestal that is so separate from them, different and away from them, that it's unattainable, and they see themselves as unworthy of the communication. That insecurity, those fears, will block you every single time and ensure that you receive nothing but dead air. Do yourself a favor and harbor a feeling of love before you start your communications, if this is the case for you. It will help tremendously. I hope this video has been helpful for you. And if it has and you've seen it, please hit that like button. This helps me understand what's helpful for you and what I should create more of. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you enjoy my other informative videos as well.